What if I told you that one of your childhood memories never happened? Not a little bit wrong, not slightly exaggerated, never happened at all, and you would still believe it, completely, with full confidence. Because your brain doesn't remember your life like a camera, it remembers it like a storyteller. Think of a memory from when you were 5 or 6 years old. Maybe you're at a birthday party, maybe you fell off a bike, maybe you got lost in a supermarket for a few terrifying seconds. You can almost see it, right? The colors, the room, maybe even how you felt. Now here's the uncomfortable question. How much of that memory is real? And how much of it did your brain quietly build for you later without asking permission? Because most people who remember their early childhood in vivid detail are not actually remembering. They're remembering a memory of a memory. And somewhere in that chain, details got added, invented, smoothed over, and you never noticed it happening. Here's the part that changes everything. Your memory was never designed to store the past accurately. It was designed to do something else, help you survive the present. Every time you recall a memory, your brain doesn't play back a recording. It rebuilds the memory from fragments, a feeling, a smell, a piece of a room, an emotion, and reconstructs the rest based on what makes sense. That's why memory feels so real. It's not lying to you. It's completing a picture with the most reasonable guess it can make. Imagine a puzzle with half the pieces missing. Your brain doesn't leave those gaps empty. It fills them in with pieces from other puzzles, other memories, things you've heard, things you've seen in photos, things other people told you happened. And once those extra pieces are in, you can't tell which ones are original anymore. This is why families often argue about the same memory. 2 siblings, same event, 2 completely different versions, and both of them are certain they're right. Neither one is lying. Both memories just got rebuilt slightly differently. Here's something even stranger. Every time you remember something, you're not just recalling it, you're resaving it. And each time you resave it, tiny changes slip in. A detail shifts, an emotion gets stronger or weaker, a small piece from a similar memory blends in. It's like photocopying a photocopy, again and again. The 100th copy still looks like the original, but it isn't. This is why a memory from 10 years ago can feel more dramatic, more painful, or more meaningful today than it actually was in the moment. It's not because the event grew, it's because you've replayed it, retold it, and rebuilt it so many times that the story became sharper than the reality. You didn't lie to yourself. You just remembered it into a slightly different shape. This is why. You remember saying something clever in an argument, but if you're honest, you probably thought of it hours later. You remember a childhood photo, but what you're actually remembering is the photo itself, not the moment it captured. You remember being scared of something as a kid because your family told the story so many times, it became your memory too, even though you were too young to actually recall it. None of this makes you unusual. It makes you human, because this isn't a flaw in your memory. It's how memory is supposed to work. Here's the part most people never think about. If your memory rebuilds the past instead of replaying it, why would evolution design it that way? Wouldn't perfect memory be better? Actually, no. A brain that stores every detail of every moment would be slow, overloaded, and inefficient. What you actually need isn't a perfect record of the past. You need a usable summary, one that helps you predict what happens next. Memory isn't a filing cabinet. It's a prediction machine. Your brain keeps only what seems useful, blends similar experiences together, and quietly discards, or invents. The rest to keep the story simple enough to use. This is why you remember the emotional peak of an event far more clearly than the boring middle. This is why you remember what usually happens instead of what specifically happened. Your brain isn't trying to protect the truth, it's trying to protect you. Here's where it gets personal. If your brain can rebuild a memory from a birthday party, it can also rebuild a memory of a relationship, an argument, a version of yourself from years ago. The way you remember an ex might not be who they actually were. It might be the version your mind settled into after replaying the story enough times. The way you remember who you used to be might not be accurate either. It might just be the simplified character your brain built to explain your past choices. This is why people can look back and think, I was so different back then, even though, biologically, they're the same person with a rewritten story. You're not just remembering your life, you're constantly editing it. Even this moment, right now, watching this video. Tomorrow, when you try to remember it, your brain won't replay it exactly. It will rebuild it. Maybe you'll remember watching it lying down when you were actually sitting up. Maybe you'll remember it being longer or shorter or more surprising than it felt right now. You won't notice the difference. You never do. That's the strange part about memory. It doesn't feel reconstructed. It feels true. Every time. You don't actually remember your past. You remember the last version of the story your brain decided to keep. And somewhere between the real moment and the memory you carry now, a quiet editor has been at work the whole time. You just never met them.